Something our body is making every single day might be the next big breakthrough in medicine and longevity. That's the promise sitting at the heart of one of the most exciting and most misunderstood field in science right now. Peptides. Today we are going to find out what they actually are, what the research says, and why some scientists believe they could change the way we age and the way we treat diseases. Do you know what a peptide is?
No. Moreover, I know that it's inside proteins.
Don't worry if you feel a little lost too. Most people don't know, and that's exactly the problem because peptides are quietly everywhere. Here's the simplest way to think about it. Your body is built on proteins, and proteins are built on amino acids, tiny molecules that link together like beads on a chain. When you have a long chain of amino acids, you get a protein. When you have a short chain, somewhere between 2 to 50 amino acids, you get a peptide. And those short chains don't just sit there. They act like microscopic instructions. They tell cells to grow, repair, make hormones, reduce inflammation, regulate your immune system, and much more. Researchers have identified thousands of naturally occurring human peptides so far. And the peptide therapeutics market has exploded as scientists try to turn those signals into targeted medicine. Can you name a few peptides?
GLP-1.
Guess insulin.
The only one I know is tretinoid. That's because that is the one I use.
Keratin, glycogen.
Collagen is one of them. That is the only one I know.
Here are some you almost certainly already know, you just didn't know that they were a peptide. Insulin, the hormone that regulates your blood sugar. It's 51 amino acids long. A peptide. It has saved the lives of hundreds of millions of people with diabetes. Collagen, the most abundant protein in your body, making up about a third of all the protein you have. When it's broken down into smaller chains for supplements or skincare, those chains are peptides. GLP-1 agonists like Ozempic and Wegovy are peptide-based drugs. They mimic a natural satiety hormone. Now, before I tell you about some new peptides, there's one word you need to know: bioavailability. Bioavailability is simply how much of a substance actually makes it into your bloodstream or target tissue in an active form. So when we talk about different formats, the real question is not what feels nicer, but which route delivers enough peptide to the place we care about. If peptides could be taken as a pill, cream, or injections, which do you think works best?
I guess a pill works best because it's directly going inside your body.
I think injection is the quickest, but pills are the safest.
I would say cream because I have used and tried it.
I think cream.
I think pill.
There isn't one right answer. It depends on the goal, the tissue, and the peptide. But there are clear trade-offs. First, injections, where you see them already. Medical GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic and Mounjaro. Growth hormone secretagogues like CJC1925, Ipamorelin. Tissue repair peptides like DPC157 in research setting. Experimental longevity peptides like Epitolin are usually in clinics or grey market anti-aging circles. What are the pros? Very high bioavailability, often 70 to 100%. So you get reliable therapeutic blood levels. It bypasses the stomach and liver, so fragile peptides survive intact. That's why almost all serious peptide therapeutics today are injectables. But there are cons. Now obviously when there are needles involved, there needs to be proper training and medical supervision. It obviously has more risk if done unsafely. There are chances of infection, dosing error, and side effects if not administered properly. Also, many anti-aging injectables people talk about online still lack large long-term human trials and are not approved drugs. They live in a regulatory grey zone and should not be experimented with alone. So injections are the power tool of peptide medicine, incredibly effective when used correctly. Second, orals. Where do we see them already? Collagen peptide powders and capsules. Glutathione tablets, capsule, effervescence, and sachets for skin brightening, liver support, and antioxidant protection. NAD+ boosters like NMN and NR capsule marketed for energy, metabolic health, and cellular longevity. Longevity nutraceuticals such as fistine, spermidine, resveratrol, curcumin, and ATG in a capsule or powder form for healthy aging, inflammation, and metabolic support. The pros here are that they're easy for daily use and mass adoption. Great for peptides that only need to act locally in the gut. Collagen is a good example. When you swallow hydrolyzed collagen peptides, they are pre-broken into small fragments that can survive survive digestion better and act as signaling molecules to your skin, joints, and connective tissues. Human studies show they can improve skin elasticity, hydration, oxidative stress, collagen synthesis, and joint support as well. But there are obviously cons as well. For most peptides aiming at systematic anti-aging effects, oral delivery destroys almost everything before it can work. Typically, bioavailability is very low. That's why oral glutathione, for instance, has to fight through digestion. It can work, but it's relatively inefficient compared to routes that bypass the gut. And why NMN and NR powders need either high doses or smarter delivery like sublingual or liposomal to reliably raise NAD+. A few oral peptide drugs success stories like oral GLP-1 tablets required years of engineering and strong absorption enhancers just to squeeze out 1% bioavailability at the cost of higher doses and more G1 side effects. So oral peptides are great when the target is the gut or the skin building blocks, but they are rarely the best option if you are trying to send a strong longevity signal deep into the body. But there is something trying to bridge the gap between convenience and bioavailability. Oral dissolving sublingual strips. These ultra thin films sit on your tongue or under it, dissolve in seconds, and allow certain molecules to absorb directly into the bloodstream through the mucosa, partially bypassing the stomach and liver, where we already see them. Melatonin sleep strips, vitamin B12 and multivitamin strips. A few early players experimenting with glutathione and other nutraceutical peptides. Why this matters for anti-aging peptide? This delivery format can dramatically improve bioavailability for molecules that are otherwise destroyed in digestion. Compared with injection, strips are needle-free, low friction, and friendlier for long-term everyday longevity protocols. Think glutathione, NMN, NAD+ boosters, or certain cosmetic and metabolic peptides as the science matures. Compared with regular oral pills, strips can offer faster onset and higher absorbed fraction, especially for small or moderate-sized peptide and peptide-like nutraceuticals. Third, topical. Where do we see them already? Collagen-boosting skincare peptides, copper peptides in serums, signal peptides in anti-wrinkle and barrier repair creams. What are the pros? Designed to work locally in the upper skin layers. There's solid evidence that certain topical peptides can improve wrinkles, elasticity, and skin barrier by stimulating collagen and elastin, reducing inflammation and protecting cells. Copper peptides in particular have clinical backing for wound healing and cosmetic skin rejuvenation. There are cons obviously. Very little of what you put on your skin gets into your bloodstream. Transdermal bioavailability is usually well under 5% without special enhancers. That's good for safety, but it means these are not systematic longevity drugs. They're targeted anti-aging for skin only. Topicals are basically your local cosmetic peptide toolbox, very relevant but limited to how you age on the outside. If peptides could be proven to slow aging or prevent disease, would you use them?
Yeah, for sure, I would use them.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I think absolutely I would.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. Yes, definitely if it is scientifically proven.
Let's be honest about where the research actually stands. What we already know with evidence. GLP-1 peptide drugs have transformed metabolic medicine. They reduce cardiovascular events, help with weight, support kidney health, and show early signals of neurodegenerative diseases. Collagen peptides have solid human evidence for improving skin elasticity and hydration, and decent evidence for joint support. Copper peptides have clinical backing for topical skin benefits, including stimulation of collagen and elastin and anti-inflammatory effects. What is still emerging? Anti-aging peptides as a formal category are now being systematically catalogued. Mitochondria-derived peptides are being studied for their role in regulating health span and lifespan. Researchers are investigating how peptides could address antibiotic resistance, cancer targeting, Alzheimer's, and tissue regeneration. The therapeutic pipeline is substantial. What is not yet there? Most of the injectable peptides currently popular in the wellness circles still lack large-scale human clinical trials. The evidence base is primarily animal studies and small uncontrolled human pilot studies. Peptides are real, the biology behind it is real, the potential is real, and and the research happening right now represents one of the most promising frontier of the science of human health. What we don't have yet is the complete picture. We don't have randomized trials proving that peptide can extend human lifespan. We don't have long-term safety data for many of the most popular compounds being used in the wellness world. But right now the data is saying peptides are worth paying attention to. So we'll keep watching this space, and so should you. Hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments and I'll see you in the next one.